Hukiama Namal Karen Forster, Barshin Akiolo Mio de Mar, Larpia Quint Yade, Atwa Ayan Thar Bardal, Darbiamai Di Nyai, Yarga Kiama, Nayathar, Makia, Diatat, Nyai Nyai Dia Kiatal. When was a time that you were out of your comfort zone? For me, that time is when I go to the DMV. My palms get sweaty. As I'm walking in, I find myself standing there saying a prayer to myself, hoping that I have the right paperwork, that it's filled out properly, and I find myself like walking up like this, please, please have the right paperwork. And then when I lead the line and I've successfully navigated that sigh of relief comes over me and I can move on. In our pop culture, I also think about George Costanza and the soup line. As we know, Jerry instructed George very specifically what he needed to do to get through that line, what he should do and what he shouldn't do. So as George walked up to the line and ordered his medium turkey chili from the soup Nazi and proceeded forward and paid, all would have gone well if he hadn't asked for his bread. And at that moment, he was denied, no soup for you. Okay, so these are silly examples of when people are out of their comfort zones. But have you ever felt out of your comfort zone in a medical situation, maybe navigating our healthcare system? I have. This is my daughter, Liz. She's a nurse. She's 26 years old. When Liz was a teenager, she was diagnosed with a hip problem. Her orthopedist at the time told us that she needed a very invasive surgery to correct her problem, and that it would be a very, very lengthy recovery, and her prognosis wasn't even that good with this surgery. So not wanting to rush into this kind of a procedure, we decided to search out a second opinion. So while that opinion was helpful, the second doctor told us, no, she doesn't need surgery. So that left us feeling equally confused. So we actually sought out a third opinion from the Cleveland Clinic. So why do I tell you this? Because I speak English, I know the healthcare system in the United States, and this was a difficult situation for me. What if you lived in the United States, you didn't speak English, you didn't know our system, you didn't know how things worked? How would that be for you? We have people that advocate for refugees in our community that help to educate them on how our healthcare system works, helping to make it a little bit easier to navigate the soup line of healthcare in our country. I decided 4 years ago that I wanted to be one of those advocates. And I want to tell you a little bit about myself because this wasn't in my DNA to be an advocate of this sort. I had always volunteered at the SPCA and I had worked with children, but working with refugees who didn't speak English was really out of my comfort zone. So I show you this because this is a neighborhood similar to where I live now. I live in East Amherst, and it's very, very different than the west side of Buffalo where I work. I also grew up in a very small city in central New York. Fulton, New York, bedroom community 25 miles north of Syracuse, and as you can see, very little diversity. So this was this concept of myself, middle-aged woman, going into the city to work with refugees who didn't speak English was just something that was really out of my own comfort zone. This, in contrast, is where I work now. This is a typical street on the west side. And this shows a little bit about that contrast between Fulton, New York, and Buffalo. I think you can get a good picture of the diversity now as compared to the way that I grew up. This is a very typical neighborhood when I go out to see women that I work with. This is very classic of what I see every day. Now, when I decided that I wanted to work with refugees in Buffalo, I was so excited to share with everybody what I was going to be doing. So I was telling my family and friends, hey, I'm going to be advocating for women, pregnant women in Buffalo. And I really thought that I would get a really positive response, and I did for most people. But there were a handful of people who said to me, well, aren't you afraid of getting shot? Aren't you afraid of your hubcaps being stolen? Well, actually, that had never occurred to me, and having been a volunteer for many years, I figured that what I would get out of that experience personally was a lot more than any sacrifice that I would ever make. So I started working for the Priscilla Project, and what we do is we have women that work as advocates for our pregnant clients, and they help them to navigate the healthcare system. They help walk them through the labor and delivery process in a friendly way, with a caring smile and a loving heart. We also take the time to ask the women that we work with, how do you feel about delivering your baby here in the United States? Now, why is that important? Because when we know where a woman is coming from, that allows us to better serve her. So while you may think that women are going to be very, very excited about delivering their babies in the United States, there's also a handful that are very nervous, they're tense, they don't really know what to expect. And maybe these pictures will give you an idea of why. This is a typical labor and delivery room in a refugee camp, and this is a good room. But you can see it's basic, there's not a lot of privacy, and this is what women see when they go to deliver their babies in their countries. This, in contrast, is what we have known to expect in our country. And while we look at these rooms and we are met with excitement, and this doesn't maybe invoke fear for us, for our clients, the women that we work with, this is very scary to them. Seeing all this equipment and seeing all the different things, that technology that there is very intimidating for them. The women that we work with come from about 18 countries in the world, and they speak about 20 languages. And while they all have a very similar experience as a refugee, we also know that they have very different circumstances that we need to understand the diversity that they have and to value them as people. These are two families that I've personally worked with that I say have successfully navigated the soup line of healthcare in our country. The family on your left is a family from Eritrea, which is in Eastern Africa. I was present at their delivery, and afterwards, the mom invited my husband and I to come to their baby's baptism. We've shared many meals at their home. This woman makes her own coffee from scratch. And when I say coffee from scratch, I mean she starts with beans, and she roasts the beans in front of you, and she does this whole process. It takes about an hour and a half, but she has welcomed my family into her family, and she has come to work for our program as an interpreter. So she's definitely now taking the tools that she learned from our program and bringing them back into her own community. The other family on the right is a Burmese family, and their little baby was actually named after me. They call her baby Karen. And also their family welcomed our family into their home, and this family needed some assistance with advocating in the special education arena. Their child had some learning difficulties, and as a result of working with me, the dad was then able to advocate for his family and get services for the child that he really needed to get to. This here was a day when we were invited to baby Karen's birthday party. It was really cool because we brought a birthday cake, and we sat there, and I'm expecting they're going to cut up this cake, put it on plates for us, and they gave everybody a fork, and everybody just dug in and started eating. Like, I looked at my husband, he looked at me, and we're like, okay, just gotta go with the flow. And after the party, they invited us over across the street to look at their garden, and they were so proud of the garden that they had. And after this, they snapped this picture. And this man went on to, he's now navigating health care in Indianapolis for other members in his community. Isn't this baby adorable? So I also say, so advocacy is great, and we should do it because it's a good thing to do, but what other reasons are there for doing it? Because when we advocate for women, they are having better birth outcomes, and so they are having healthy babies. And I would say that it's important for healthy babies to be born. When I look at a newborn baby, I see a face that's full of potential. Our clients have much better rates of full-term birth, healthy birth weight, and much lower C-section rates. And why is that? Because for many of our clients, they have grown up in a society where you only went to the doctor when you were sick. Pregnancy is not a sickness, so they have not always gone for prenatal care. We tell them and educate them on the importance of prenatal care, good nutrition, and getting medical care that they need, and they comply because they trust us. We also know that with premature birth, there is a cost involved. We know that there's a higher medical cost at the time of birth, and we also know that over the course of a lifetime, children that are preemies are going to incur possibly more medical costs. And those babies are going to face challenges that are going to interfere with that clean slate of endless possibilities. This is a short list of complications from premature birth: jaundice, respiratory illness, costly NICU stays, difficulty latching and swallowing, higher risk of cerebral palsy, higher risk of learning disabilities, and the list goes on, and I could tell you over and over again more things that there's problems with premature birth. So let me go back to my introduction. When I came out here and talked to you in Burmese, how did you feel? Were you uncomfortable? Were you out of your comfort zone? What if you heard that all the time and you didn't understand anything else? What if you had a friend who was there to help you, to know what was going on, to walk you through the system? What I said to you was, hello, I'm Karen Forster. I'm happy to be here today, a little scared and out of my comfort zone. Today I ask you to consider being an advocate. Maybe it's for refugees, maybe it's for the elderly, children, animals. We know dogs and cats can't navigate the soup line of healthcare for them. We need people to stand up for humane treatment for animals. So I ask you to just please consider doing something, make a difference. Do not wait for leaders, do it alone, person to person. So what I say to you today is, step out of your comfort zone, be an advocate, and stop worrying about your hubcaps. Thank you.